Combo decks have been around since the very beginning of Magic, and they speak to a very specific kind of player. In this video, I'll be ranking some of the most powerful and iconic combos in the game's history. All of them are capable of going infinite, locking the opponent out of playing meaningful Magic, or even winning the game on the spot. They range from fun and quirky to utterly broken. Let's dive in. Number 35. Sliver Queen plus Mana Echoes. A fun combo in Sliver's EDH decks. Every time a Sliver enters the battlefield, Mana Echoes gives you colorless mana equal to how many Slivers you already control. So once you have 3 or more Slivers on the board, you can produce infinite mana and infinite 1/1s. Number 34. Exquisite Blood plus Sanguine Bond. This one shows up fairly often in competitive EDH. It's simple and flavorful. When your opponent loses life, you gain that much. When you gain life, they lose that much. The bloodiest positive feedback loop in Magic. That said, both enchantments cost 5 and neither starts the life loop by itself, meaning it can be a little slow. Number 33. Deadeye Navigator plus Peregrine Drake. This one's commander royalty. Deadeye Navigator's Soul Bond gives either creature the ability to blink for 1 and 1 blue, and Drake untaps 5 lands when it enters. Bond the two, blink the Drake repeatedly, and you'll generate boundless mana while resetting your lands each cycle. The combo converts easily into infinite draw, damage, or life gain depending on your outlets, making it one of Blue's most versatile infinite combos. Number 32. Pandemonium plus Saproling Burst. Another wacky one. Pandemonium is an enchantment that says, whenever a creature enters, that creature's controller may have it deal damage equal to its power to any target of their choice. Meanwhile, Saproling Burst is an enchantment that enters with 7 fade counters, and lets you remove a counter from it to create a Saproling token with power and toughness equal to the number of fade counters on Saproling Burst. So you first make a 6/6 Saproling, which you can use to deal 6 damage to your opponent with Pandemonium, then you make a 5/5 Saproling and deal 5 damage, and so on, for a total of 21 damage once all counters have been removed. The combo is relatively popular in the pre-modern format, where it usually shows up in Fires of Yavimaya decks. Number 31. Earthcraft plus Squirrel Nest. Earthcraft lets you tap a creature to untap a basic land, while Squirrel Nest enchants a land and lets you tap it to create a 1/1 squirrel token. Combine the two, and you can use each new squirrel to untap the enchanted land and make another, ad infinitum. It's not the fastest or most stable infinite combo, but it's undeniably fun. Every squirrel ends up tapped, giving your opponents a brief window to respond before the furry apocalypse begins. Still, there's something wonderfully absurd about winning with an army of infinite squirrels. Number 30. Duskmantle Guildmage plus Mind Crank. Guildmage says whenever an opponent mills a card, they lose 1 life. Mind Crank says whenever they lose life, they mill that many cards. So they mill, they lose life, they mill more, and so on. The Guildmage can also force someone to mill 2 cards for 4 mana, kickstarting the process from scratch. Number 29. Mindslaver plus Academy Ruins. This is an infamous one. You sacrifice Mindslaver to control your opponent's next turn. On your upkeep, you use Academy Ruins to put Mindslaver back on top, you draw it, and then you do it again. Lest they can disrupt it, the combo permanently locks your opponents out of the game. Though it requires a lot of mana to pull off, the combo shows up in some builds of Blue Tron in Modern. Number 28. Hive Mind plus Pact of Negation. Each of the Future Sight pacts is free to cast, but demands repayment on your next upkeep. When paired with Hive Mind, these pacts become deadly. The plan is simple. Ramp into Hive Mind, resolve it, and immediately fire off a pact in a color your opponent can't produce. Ideally, on your opponent's upkeep, they'll be unable to pay and they will lose the game on the spot. Pact of Negation pulls double duty in the deck, serving as a win con as well as a way to protect Hivemind from counterspells or removal, etc. While they have declined in popularity in recent years, Hivemind decks were very competitive in the early years of Modern. Some builds of Amulet Titan also ran a few copies of Hivemind as an alternate win con, since they were already playing Pact of Negation and Summoner's Pact and Talaria West. The enchantment still shows up in competitive legacy lists, where it's often cheated in with show and tell. Number 27. Devoted Druid plus Vizier of Remedies. Devoted Druid taps for green and can untap by giving itself a -1/-1 counter. Vizier reduces incoming counters by 1, so the counter never lands on the Druid. The result is infinite green mana. The combo typically shows up in Modern in Creatures Toolbox decks. From there, decks will often dump that mana into effects like Duskwatch Recruiter, letting them find whatever creatures they need to execute the kill, such as Walking Ballista. Number 26. Ad Nauseam plus Angel's Grace. Angel's Grace prevents you from losing the game until end of turn, allowing you to draw your entire deck with Ad Nauseam, ignoring the life loss, and win from there. The archetype has been around forever, and traditionally the deck was basically a turn 4 combo. You'd wait for Lotus Bloom to come off suspend, and for Angel's Grace or Phyrexian Unlife to give you a safe window to resolve Ad Nauseam. Sometimes, with help from Pentad Prism and Simian Spirit Guide, you could piece together the fabled turn 3 kill, but it was rare and required multiple moving parts. Nowadays, thanks to Thassa's Oracle, the deck can hit that same turn 3 window more consistently. The Oracle enters, sees 0 cards in your library, and wins on the spot. Number 25. Spike Feeder plus Heliod Sun-Crowned. Spike Feeder removes a counter to gain life. Heliod puts a counter on target creature whenever you gain life. Remove 1, gain 2 life, get another counter, repeat. Result: infinite life. This combo powers the so-called Heliod life decks in Modern, which, while not tier 1, do put in competitive results from time to time. It helps that Heliod is indestructible and usually not even a creature, meaning you've got a bit of resilience. The combo also has some redundancy in Archangel of Thune, which plays a similar role to Heliod. Number 24. Witherbloom Apprentice plus Chain of Smog. Witherbloom Apprentice drains each opponent for 1 life whenever you cast or copy a spell. So you target yourself with Chain of Smog, discard 2 cards, and then copy it, targeting yourself once again, copying it again, and so on. You can copy it even if you have no cards in hand left to discard. This combo shows up in a few commander decks, and has put in some competitive results in Legacy. The combo is relatively easy to assemble, as both pieces cost just 2 mana, and they overlap in 1 color. Number 23. Saheeli Rai plus Felidar Guardian. The infamous copycat combo. The sequence is simple. Saheeli copies the Guardian, which blinks Saheeli, resetting her loyalty to do it again. Repeat until the board floods with cats, then swing for lethal. The combo requires 3 different colors, and the Guardian is relatively costly at 4 mana, but what truly made this combo busted was that it was standard legal. At the time, the format did not have sufficient tools to keep copycat in check, so Felidar Guardian was eventually banned. It would meet the same fate in Pioneer a few years later. Number 22. Basking Broodscale plus Sadistic Glee. This is another example of a combo that was too strong for its format. With Glee on Broodscale, any creature dying sets off a chain reaction, placing a counter on Broodscale, thus generating an Eldrazi spawn token, which you can sack to put another counter on Broodscale, generating another spawn, etc, etc. This yields you infinite death triggers and infinite ETB triggers, as well as infinite colorless mana and infinite +1/+1 counters. The combo also works in Modern with Blade of the Blood Chief in place of Sadistic Glee, but the Glee version was Pauper legal. Glee combo warped that format, invalidating a lot of strategies simply because it could win so fast out of nowhere if not interacted with. The combo was deemed too powerful for Pauper, and Sadistic Glee was banned in March 2025. Number 21. Metal Worker plus Staff of Domination. Metal Worker can reveal artifacts from your hand to add 2 colorless mana for every artifact revealed. Once you have a few in hand, the staff lets you spend that mana to untap Metal Worker repeatedly, generating infinite mana. From there, the staff's other abilities, drawing cards and gaining life, close the game however you would like. It's an old school combo that still fuels competitive artifact strategies in Legacy today. Number 20. Isochron Scepter plus Aurim's Chant. Scepter Chant was a potent combo deck back in Extended in the 2000s, and Aurim's Chant's reprinting in Modern Horizons 3 has seen it crop up in Modern recently as well. Together, Scepter and Chant can lock your opponent out of casting anything ever again. Some blue-white control shells have incorporated the combo. There's also a mono-white version running it, though that build is not as popular. Number 19. Shardless Agent plus Living End. Living End is a solid tempo combo deck in Modern. Its game plan is cycling creatures like Architects of Will and Curator of Mysteries, filling your graveyard with massive threats while drawing into a cascade spell. On turn 3, you cast Shardless Agent, or, before it was banned, Violent Outburst, which guarantees you'll hit Living End, the deck's only card costing less than 3. When it resolves, your graveyard empties onto the battlefield while wiping away all creatures that were previously on the board, which in this case will mostly be your opponent's creatures. Some variants use Crashing Footfalls or Restore Balance in place of Living End, but the mass reanimation spell remains the strongest option. Ardent Plea also sometimes appears for cascade redundancy. Number 18. High Tide plus Palinchron. The strongest ability in Urza Block was the so-called free spell mechanic, which caused lands to untap on resolution. One of the most notorious offenders was Palinchron, a 7-mana creature that untapped 7 lands on ETB and could be returned to your hand for a cost of 4 mana. High Tide, meanwhile, makes all islands tap for double blue, so Palinchron then nets mana each time it enters. Use 4 mana to return the creature to hand, recast it, untap, repeat, to infinity. Once you have infinite mana, you can win the game with effects like Stroke of Genius, etc. Number 17. Illusions of Grandeur plus Donate. This combo performed well in Extended in the early 2000s and is still good in pre-modern today. Illusions of Grandeur gains you 20 life on ETB, but when it leaves play, you lose 20 life as well. And it comes with a steep cumulative upkeep. The trick was pretty straightforward. You would gain life, then donate the illusions to your opponent. When your opponent couldn't pay the upkeep, illusions vanished, and your opponent immediately lost 20 life. Decks backed the combo up with counterspells and mana acceleration, as well as cards like Capsize to bounce Illusions of Grandeur and speed up the kill. In this sense, this deck was a forerunner to the Harmless Offering / Demonic Pact combo. Number 16. Splinter Twin plus Deceiver Exarch. One of Modern's most iconic combos. Tap the creature to make a token, that token untaps the original, and you repeat until you've created infinite hasty attackers. Cards like Pestamite and Kiki-Jiki essentially achieve the same thing. The deck could pivot between control and combo seamlessly, which made it a nightmare to play against, causing Twin to be banned in 2016. The Aura was unbanned in December 2024, and the deck has achieved some competitive results since then, but power creep means it's nowhere near the force that it once was. Number 15. Food Chain plus Squee the Immortal. This combo is a staple of competitive Commander and a solid option in Legacy. Food Chain exiles a creature to add mana equal to its mana value plus 1, but Squee can always be cast from exile. That loop produces infinite creature-only mana, which can be used to win the game in various ways. Squee can be swapped out for Mist Hollow Griffin to achieve the same result. The combo appears in a dedicated Legacy deck known as Food Chain, as well as in some versions of Goblin Tribal. Number 14. Lion's Eye Diamond plus Auriok Salvages. Lion's Eye Diamond cracks for 3 mana of any color. Auriok Salvages buys it back for 1 generic and 1 white. You can loop this for infinite white mana, and effectively any color by sequencing. You still need a sync. Cards like Origin Spellbomb and Sunbeam Spellbomb can convert that mana into cards or life, though more recent builds burn the opponent out with Glaring Fleshraker. In Legacy, this combo has earned the nickname Bomberman, and it continues to top 8 tournaments as recently as this year. Number 13. Helm of Obedience plus Leyline of the Void. Helm of Obedience is an artifact with an activated ability that says, pay X, tap, target opponent mills a card, then repeats this process until a creature card or X cards have been put into their graveyard this way, whichever comes first. If one or more creature cards were put into that graveyard this way, sacrifice this artifact and put one of those creature cards onto the battlefield under your control. Essentially, it's a mill effect intended to cheat a creature in your opponent's library onto the battlefield under your control. However, Leyline of the Void replaces any card that would hit the graveyard by exiling it instead. When it's paired with Helm of Obedience, that effect becomes pretty much instantly lethal. With both on the battlefield, you activate Helm's ability with X equals 1 or higher. Normally, Helm mills cards until the chosen number of cards have hit the opponent's graveyard, but because Leyline of the Void exiles those cards before they ever touch the graveyard, that condition is never satisfied. So the process loops indefinitely. Helm keeps milling while Leyline keeps exiling, until your opponent's entire library is gone. The Helm combos with Darthi Voidwalker and Rest in Peace in the same way. This has given the combo a home in Legacy, typically in mono black or blue-white control decks. Number 12. Sneak Attack plus Emrakul the Eon's Torn. This vicious combo is very strong in Legacy. It generally appears in blue-red shells that also run Show and Tell, though there's also a more explosive mono-red version built on rituals like Seething Song and lock pieces like Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, and Blood Moon. Emrakul's Annihilator ensures that a single swing is usually enough to end the game. Number 11. Omniscience plus Show and Tell. This combo is similar to Sneak Attack and Emrakul, often appearing in the same deck. The so-called Omnitel or Omni-Show decks are blue-red ones that back the combo up with card draw and counterspells, as well as defensive tools like Veil of Summer, capable of pulling off the combo by turn 3 or even turn 2. Number 10. Tolarian Academy plus Time Spiral. The Urza block era produced so many busted combos that it became known as Combo Winter. Tolarian Academy decks ruled the scene, turning cheap artifacts into tidal waves of blue mana. With Lotus Petal, Mox Diamond, and other fast mana rocks, Academy's tap ability could yield a dozen mana or more in an instant. Flood the board with artifacts, cast Time Spiral to draw 7 and untap all lands, including Academy, presumably cast more untap spells that you've drawn, and repeat until you've generated obscene amounts of mana. Then you finish the job with Stroke of Genius or Windfall, forcing your opponent to draw their entire deck. Number 9. Basalt Monolith plus Mesmeric Orb. Mesmeric Orb is a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a permanent untaps, its controller mills a card. Now pair that with Basalt Monolith, the classic 3-mana mana rock that taps for 3 but doesn't untap naturally, unless you pay 3 to do it manually. Because tapping and untapping both cost and produce 3 mana, you can create infinite untap events, which immediately combos with Mesmeric Orb to mill your entire library, or as much of it as you want. Add any effect that skews the math by 1 and you've got infinite mana. The combo is also used in artifact-based Mystic Forge decks in Legacy. In that deck, the idea is to use Basalt Monolith plus Mesmeric Orb to mill as many cards from your own deck as you want. Once the engine is assembled, you can churn through your library, repeatedly hitting cards like Echo of Eons, and refilling your hand until every key piece is online. It's a self-fueling loop that digs deep, finds everything you need, and racks up a staggering number of game actions along the way. Eventually, you draw through pretty much your entire deck, then produce an absurd amount of mana and kill your opponent with Walking Ballista. Number 8. Counterbalance plus Sensei's Divining Top. This combo doesn't win the game on the spot, but it creates an oppressive lock that was deemed too strong and too tedious for both Modern and Legacy. Counterbalance lets you counter a spell if the top card of your library matches that spell's mana value. Sensei's Divining Top gives you constant access to your top 3 cards, as well as the ability to put the top back on top of your library. Together, they create near total control of the stack. You'd activate the top, adjust the order of the top 3 cards, and counter almost anything on command, especially with fetch lands for extra shuffling, etc. The so-called Miracles deck built around this interaction in Legacy, and it was incredibly strong, until top was finally banned, not just for power level, but because games were taking far too long. Number 7. Dark Depths plus Thespian's Stage. After its printing in Gatecrash in 2013, Thespian's Stage replaced Vampire Hexmage as the most efficient way to remove the counters from Dark Depths. You use the stage to copy depths, then let the legend rule force you to sacrifice the original. The copy has no ice counters on it because it didn't enter as Dark Depths. As a result, the copy instantly summons the 2020 indestructible flyer named Morit Lage. Notably, this is a combo that doesn't require casting a single spell, only land drops, making it immune to counterspells. Tutors like Crop Rotation and Expedition Map find the pieces effortlessly, while cards such as Sejiri Step shield the token from most answers. This means the combo is impressively consistent and resilient, explaining why Dark Depths is very much banned in Modern. In no banned list Modern events, it consistently sits alongside Eye of Ugin Eldrazi and Hogarth as one of the most dominant archetypes available. Number 6. Painter's Servant plus Grindstone. Painter's Servant makes all cards a single color. Grindstone mills 2 cards, then repeats if they share a color. With Painter out, Grindstone mills an entire library in one go. The deck gets extra spicy by running Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast, which become universal 1-mana answers when Painter names blue. The combo has been a fixture in Legacy for years, proof that sometimes the oldest tricks are still the deadliest. The combo is fairly popular in competitive EDH as well. Number 5. Brain Freeze and Lion's Eye Diamond plus Underworld Breach. Dubbed Breach Freeze, this short-lived Legacy terror combined Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze, and Lion's Eye Diamond into one of the fastest engines Magic has ever seen. When Breach was first previewed, seasoned players immediately heard alarm bells. In a parallel to Yawgmoth's Will, Breach effectively turned the graveyard into a second hand. Sacrificing Lion's Eye Diamond for mana and repeatedly recasting it under Breach's effect created infinite mana and infinite storm count. Brain Freeze then milled either you to restock your graveyard, or your opponent to win the game. The deck met a swift end. Underworld Breach was banned from Legacy after just 45 days, and years later it was axed from Modern as well. However, it still thrives in competitive EDH and Vintage. Number 4. Channel plus Fireball. Channel Fireball is perhaps Magic's original combo kill. Channel is one of the most busted green cards in the entire game. Until end of turn, it converts your life total directly into colorless mana, 1 point of life per mana. Fireball then turns that mana into damage. Classic play pattern is incredibly brutal. Drop a mountain on turn 1, crack a Black Lotus for 3 green mana, use 2 of that mana to cast Channel, leaving 1 green and 1 red floating. Spend 19 life and all your remaining mana to fire off Fireball for 20 damage, all before your opponent ever takes a turn. In Magic's earliest days, you could run unlimited copies of each card, so this deck was frighteningly consistent. It was absurd, even by 1993 standards, and Channel was swiftly banned across the board. That said, by today's standards, the card does have some notable vulnerabilities. If your opponent gains any life, or if your life total dips below 20, the plan pretty much falls apart. 1 lightning bolt, 1 gut shot, and your combo collapses. Regardless, it's still strong enough for Channel to be banned in Legacy and restricted in Vintage. Number 3. Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic Consultation. Thassa's Oracle checks your devotion to blue when it enters. If your library has fewer cards than that number, you win. Cast Demonic Consultation in response to the Oracle's trigger, name a card that isn't in your deck, and exile your entire library for a single black mana. The trigger resolves and you win immediately, all for just 3 mana. Demonic Consultation is banned in Legacy due to this obscene power, though the combo sees extensive use in competitive EDH. Number 2. Voltaic Key plus Time Vault. Vintage's Eternal Menace. Time Vault taps for an extra turn but doesn't untap normally. Voltaic Key untaps it anyway. Take a turn, untap with Key, take another turn, repeat. Unsurprisingly, Time Vault is banned in Legacy and EDH, and restricted in Vintage, where the combo is still a force to be reckoned with. Number 1. Flash plus Protean Hulk. Flash lets you cheat a creature into play for 2 mana, and then sacrifice it if you don't pay its cost minus 2. With Protean Hulk, that death becomes a tutor chain for creatures with total mana value 6 or less. Usually enough to assemble a 1-turn kill. Typical lines included fetching Carrion Feeder and Karmic Guide to reanimate Hulk, then looping into Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker for infinite hasty attackers. You can also use complex recursion chains with Body Double, Carrion Feeder, and Revilark that generate infinite damage. The combo is so fast that it can even win on turn 0. Casting Flash during the opponent's upkeep with Gemstone Caverns and a Spirit Guide. Flash Hulk crushed Grand Prix Columbus 2007, before Flash was quickly banned in Legacy. Years later, the combo resurfaced in Commander, where it dominated until Flash met the same fate there in 2020. That's all for today. Until next time, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and consider joining my Patreon.